So I felt compelled to just put together a video of the benefits of coronavirus, the benefits of what's happening right now in the world. And yes, I know that there are a lot of cons. There are a lot of people losing their jobs. There are a lot of deaths. There's a lot of stress, anxiety. So I'm not trying to downplay any of that. I know that's all real. And if you want to learn more about all of the downsides to coronavirus, you can literally watch anything else. I mean, literally turn on your TV, scroll through social media. Most, not all of it, but some of it's getting a little bit better. But man, there's just so much fear mongering and just negativity out there about this thing that I wanted to at least provide one video with my perspective of kind of how my brain looks at this stuff and how I try to really look for the positives. And I don't think I am blowing this out of proportion or, really trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I think these are real, tangible, realistic benefits that people maybe aren't even realizing that we have now because of the situation. So a lot of times you don't expect. How many times have you guys, lost a job or had a really tough situation in your life and you think this is it, I'm never going to bounce back from that. And it turned out that that really hard time you went through in your life opened the door to something beautiful later on. It's happened to me so many times, it's almost ridiculous how many times where I thought, oh, if I lose this job, that's it, I won't bounce back. And I had to lose that job, or I had to lose a relationship, or something had to happen for me to grow and move on to something else. So I'm seeing the same thing happen here, no different. This is something that's happened over and over again throughout history. It's happened over and over again in all of our personal lives. So this is what I'm seeing. So if you think it's garbage BS, that's fine. Don't watch it. But I think there's some really great stuff that we could look forward to and be at least acknowledging right now during this time of crisis, right? So the first benefit, I don't know about you guys, but I am using a lot less right now and I am wasting a lot less. Before this whole thing happened, I would have leftovers in my fridge that would go bad. I would say to myself, yeah, I'll eat that at some point, and I never would. And then, the moldy, gross stuff would grow in it, and I'd have to throw it out, and I'd be wasting food. Since this coronavirus situation and with all the craziness at the grocery stores, that has not happened once since it's happened for 2 weeks now. So I'm eating everything in my fridge. If I have leftovers, that is now my lunch or that is now my dinner. And I am prioritizing not wasting anything. Okay. Everything, you guys know, the toilet paper situation, paper towels, all this stuff is in very short supply right now. So how many of us are much more conscious about how much we're using? Trying not to just waste things just because, whatever, when we run out, we'll go to the store and get more. Well, if we don't right now, it puts you in a situation where we're all wasting less, eating maybe even a little bit less, just consuming actually a little bit less and being more mindful of what we are consuming. So, less waste, less pollution, less all that stuff, right? So that's something that people maybe aren't even realizing we're doing right now. We're training ourselves to do that right now. Next, everyone is washing their hands a lot more often. As you know, that's kind of one of the biggest things that most governments and local agencies have been telling everybody. Just wash your hands 20 seconds. Make sure it's not just a quick 5-second thing. But if you really want to make sure that you are getting any viruses off your hands or anything like that, they usually say 20 seconds with just soap and water. We'll do it, but just make sure you do time that out. But that means that a lot of people, or most people, are going to be healthier actually, because they're now washing a lot of bacteria and a lot of things that could get them sick or could cause problems for them. And this is going to be something that moving forward, you're going to just see a kind of a trend that sticks around. Not everybody. I think there's going to be, obviously, once things ease up a bit, you have a lot of people that just will go back to how they were doing it. But you can't take this away from us now, that there's been this sort of, new meme in our heads about washing your hands often is a good thing. It'll actually help you. It'll keep you safe. It'll keep you healthy. So that's a really good thing that a lot of people are now. It's just like a new habit that most people probably weren't doing that often. I would do it when I needed to, but I certainly wasn't making it sort of an hourly or, every couple times a day sort of a thing. And now I am. And so I'm definitely going to be taking this into the future long after this coronavirus situation blows over, right? Is it just me, or does food and drink taste better right now? I think it was mostly last week, this week, since I feel like a little bit more at ease with things. Things have kind of calmed down a bit. But I do remember the first couple of times I had, I had some chicken with some broccoli, very simple little meal. It tasted like the best meal I've had in years. And it was just because I started to realize how good we have it here, especially in America, where we could go to a grocery store, get almost any food you could even think of, and it's always in stock. It's always available. There's no lines to get it. There's no empty shelves, right? And so now with the food that you are able to get, because I know that some grocery stores have been they've been stocked up much faster, but others still have some shortages here and there. So, but for the food that you can get, is it just me? But I feel like I'm appreciating my food and drinks much more. Water tastes delicious. Again, coffee is like the best thing ever. I've kind of forgot about my love of how awesome coffee is. And just, most meals that I'm eating now, I'm just like, oh, I'm just so thankful that we have delicious food that we can still eat. So I think a little bit of humility and kind of humbleness is kind of being injected into us right now, which puts us in a much more positive state of mind, a much more grateful state of mind, which I think is a good thing. All of us probably now have a little bit more time on our hands for personal reflection and values evaluation. So maybe for the last couple of years, maybe last decade or even more, you've been hustling, trying to, whatever, make gains at your work or in some sort of project you're working on, and you've neglected something that you've been needing to not neglect, family relationships, friendships, something like that. So now when you're home for a couple of weeks, you get to reevaluate your entire life. Like, what do I want to have? Am I really happy with how I've been spending the last, couple of years of my life with the balance that I've struck? Should I maybe reorient myself to be a little bit more available for my family or my friends or for people that I want to connect more with, or for certain, maybe with more music, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but at least you have time right now. It's like almost like a mandatory, vacation that basically the world is on for a couple of weeks. So it's an opportunity. I know some people are thinking it as like this just, terrible sentence. They have to be at home. It's a gift, actually, if you think about it. And I think a lot of people are doing a lot of deep reflection right now, and really reevaluating what they want to do once this clears up and they can go back to work and get back to their regular lives. It's a great opportunity to maybe change some things around if you'd like to. Of course, we're all focused on our health right now. We're all focused on boosting our immune system, getting some good vitamin C, zinc, echinacea, going for a walk, getting some sunshine on us, prioritizing sleep, making sure you're trying to get at least those 8 hours of sleep every single night. If you're not, I hope you guys are. And obviously just being more conscious of other people's health and giving them their personal space. And we're all so conscious of our health right now. And so actually the side effect is that we will all become a little more healthy, right? I don't know how many people who might be obese who've been reading that, like, hey, if you're obese, you're going to be a little bit more at risk for, being somebody that could suffer from a virus like this. How many people are now using this as their hard rock bottom wake up call of like, okay, I've got to kick back this weight thing and I've really got to start putting myself on a plan. I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to see quite a bit of people that are getting a big wake up call from this and just taking their health a lot more seriously. Even not people that are like morbidly obese, but just people who are, a couple of extra pounds. They're going to realize, you know what? I don't even want to be in the slightly risky category. I want to get back into my ideal weight. So I think there's going to be a lot of healthy things that are coming out of this situation moving forward. Now, of course, you've been hearing the social distancing term, which is obviously we need to keep our distance, maintain, be at home as much as possible. And if you have to be out and about, keeping that 6 foot distance and, all that good stuff. However, I think the term was a bad term to put out there. Social distancing. We're actually not socially distanced at all right now. In fact, for myself, I don't know about you guys, but I feel socially closer to my friends and family than I have in a long time. We're calling a lot more. We're texting a lot more. I'm also reaching out and getting phone calls and texts from people I haven't talked to, like old college friends, old workmates, old musician friends that I haven't talked to in like 5-10 years sometimes. And it's because of this, because a lot more people are home, a lot more people have a little bit extra time, and they're like, you know what? I haven't reached out to that old buddy of mine in a long time. I haven't talked to this person. I miss them, and life just kind of got in the way, and I didn't prioritize keeping in touch with them, and now I've got the time, so let's do it. So we are actually socially a lot closer right now. We're much more close-knit as a community. And even the few times that I have gone to the grocery store, get some food, something like that. Before this whole situation, you don't really talk to anybody in line with you. It's just kind of everybody stays in their own little bubble and we all go to check out. Everybody's talking to each other now, at least in my little town. I don't know about where you guys are at, but people, strangers, checkout people, customers, everybody's talking to each other now. We're all kind of like sharing in this sort of interesting, weird, once in a 100-year situation. And so we're building bonds, and obviously with neighbors and that kind of thing. So I think this is going to be great. It's going to create some new relationships moving forward. Now, of course, once this passes, there's going to be that sort of go back to the norm of like, all right, everybody just, strangers, you ignore each other, kind of go back to your daily life. But at least we still have this memory of like, hey, if we need to, we can connect. Like, these are people, these are my teammates, these are people around me that we can all bond with. We can actually create some meaningful relationships. So I think that's always just a good thing for society, for people to be a little bit closer, a little bit more able to work together and communicate, which is a really good thing. And this, of course, goes to, different places around the world. There are different political situations, but at least in the U.S., we've been really politically divided since the 2016 election. And I really think that this thing has drawn us closer. I'm not going to say we are one in kumbaya. Of course, there's still going to be some infighting or some back and forth, bickering and all that kind of stuff. And it still goes on, of course, every single day in the media and everywhere. But you have to admit that it has cooled off quite a bit, actually. A lot of the heated rhetoric and the intense just anger really has melted quite a bit substantially. And now we've kind of seen each other as like, hey, we're all on the same team here, and we need to look out for each other and at least respect each other's health, right? And that says a lot when you look at somebody else and say, you have health that matters, I have health that matters. Who cares what our political differences are, our opinions right now? I'm going to respect your health. You're going to respect my health. That's at least a way to bridge, even though there's a distance. Ironically, there's now a bridge. There's actually something that connects all of us right now because we're all really worried about each other's health and our own health and our family's health, right? Of course, as I've been talking about in the last 2 weeks on my channel, this has forced all of us to get really creative, find new solutions. I know a lot of parents who have kids that are home right now are wondering, what do I do with my kids? Usually they would do all their education at the public school or at school where they're at. What are we going to do? There's a lot of interesting things coming out. There's homeschooling. There's at-home learning programs. There's a whole bunch of interesting things happening. That's just one instance of this, but also employers who are now sending all their employees home, realizing how do we still get our jobs done and keep our business open when everybody has to be in their remote locations. So it's forcing people to think outside of the box. And you know what happens when we do that? We usually come up with incredible ideas. We usually start to do things much more efficiently because we've been stuck in this sort of, yes, I show up, I go to my office, I work in this cubicle, this is where I work, and this is what we do, and I work there for 8 hours, and then I go home. And now you're realizing that, like, hey, you know what? If I'm home and I can just focus on the task that needs to get done for the day or for the week, I might not need 8 hours to get that task done. Maybe I'm only taking 8 hours because I know that I have to be at this office for 8 hours. And so I sort of make it look like I'm busy for 8 hours, but I really don't have to. I can actually get this done in a couple of hours. So we're going to find that people actually, if they can get their job done in 1 or 2 hours in the day, not 8, that gives you 6 hours of starting a business, working on music, getting into sync licensing. Whatever you want to do, you've got a lot more free time, spending more time with your family, with your kids, right? So I think when you have to be like the box basically got shook up quite a bit here. When you shake up the box, people kind of find themselves reoriented in a different position. But sometimes you can see things in a brand new, fresh way that you're like, there's an opportunity here. There's something we can do a little bit smarter, a little bit better than we were doing. I think these solutions are popping up all over the place, and we're going to hear more and more about them as the weeks go on. Now, the other thing is just as far as an economy and as far as the world, the supply chains is the big worry that a lot of people had. Is that like, we have, toilet paper is obviously the big one here in the States, and I would imagine around the world there might be a lot of issues with that too. But in different places, there's going to be a few items that just, we can't get it stocked up fast enough. Or if we were dependent, especially here in the U.S., on China or other countries to produce or develop, medical supplies or food or something that's really critical for us right now, we've sort of been exposed to the fact that we're a little bit vulnerable or very vulnerable because we're not producing and creating our own stuff in the country so that we could just ramp it up if we need to and get those supplies as soon as possible and not be dependent on an exterior country or a different source, right? And this goes for every single country. And I think every country, every economy, every community is thinking about this right now. So I don't think this is going to be the black plague that wipes out, the country or a big chunk of the country. I think we're going to do okay. Yes, there's going to be some casualties, and yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough, and we're going to hear some really negative news. But I do think that we've got enough of a head start on this, at least here in the U.S., to be able to mitigate it, handle it, sort of try to slow the spread at least. And what this is doing is it's sort of giving us a really good emergency run on our systems and really exposing, hey, if we do have big problems, what are the things that are the most vulnerable? What are the supply points that just break and people can't get what they need? We have now seen that in real. It's not just theoretical. What if this happened? Now we've seen something when the public's mindset gets a little bit panicky, a little bit worried, and they start mass buying and panic buying basically and buying more than they usually do. We've now had sort of a good run at what we should be thinking about moving forward. And so I know that people that are involved in supply chains and medical supplies and food and that kind of thing, you better believe that they are coming up and thinking about solutions to this thing now. So I'm really thankful that we're going through this because now we can be more prepared for something even maybe worse, hopefully not. But if something does come down the pipeline, even if it's just, not just a pandemic or something like that, but like an earthquake or natural disasters or whatever, right? Something could happen where it breaks our supply chain. So we should be thinking about that, right? Now, this is also down to the personal level for you and I. This is going to encourage all of us, hopefully, to be more prepared next time. So most people are not planting any gardens. They don't have any food in their house that they're producing themselves. I hope you guys think about doing this. I got into gardening a few years ago, never talked about it here. I think I did once in a while. I'd use some analogies for picking weeds and that kind of thing. But I got into gardening about 3 or 4 years ago, and I love it. It's not hard. It's actually very easy to do. It's I think people think that it requires some like crazy skill. No, you just literally, even if you don't have a big backyard or even space for it, as long as you have some sort of an area where you can get some sunshine, having a pot, getting some good soil. You can even go to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's and get something that's already grown, for a couple of months. So you don't have to even start with a seed and is it going to grow or not. Just go to Home Depot. I mean, you can go get tomatoes, kale, cucumbers, watermelon, grapes. I mean, whatever you want, basically anything that will grow where your climate is. You maybe think about starting to grow a little bit of your own food. Think about having some extra water just on hand, just in case. Maybe stocking up a little bit on canned food and emergency food just for whatever. Again, could be an earthquake, could be a tornado, could be whatever it is. But I hope that you have something prepared next time so that you're not completely at the moment of, oh crap, I have no food. I got to run to the grocery store. And then you become part of the herd causing the panic, causing the problems, right? The last thing you want to do is be around a lot of scared, panicky people when something bad is happening. You really want to just stay home, stay safe, protect yourself, okay? So I hope you guys are all taking this as a big wake-up call. And also, one thing that my family and I did through all this, we should have done this before, but here we are, is having a sort of an emergency plan with your family. So if something happens, if something goes down and, people need to leave where they're at, where do you guys all meet up? What's the plan from there? Do you have maybe even a couple of 5-gallon gallons of gas, some of those red gallons of gas, so that if the gas stations are a little bit stocked or shut down or too crowded, do you have all of these things thought up so that if you need to just literally get out of town, go somewhere else, you should start thinking about that right now. I'm not trying to scare you guys and saying that you should worry about the apocalypse coming, but this is kind of a good thing for people, especially if you care about your friends, you care about your family. Put together some sort of a plan so that if something happens, you guys all know what the plan is, where to meet up, where you're going to go from there, so that you're not in that moment of like, oh my gosh, what do we do? There isn't poor decisions made or panic things happening. People know exactly, okay, this is scary, but we know what we should be doing. We know where to go. We know what the plan is, right? That will help you so much in a time of worry and uncertainty. You're going to at least have the certainty of this is the plan. Let's make sure you execute it, okay? And of course, last but not least, all of you guys, most of you will have more time to make music right now during the slowdown in the economy. If you're going to be home waiting for your businesses or your offices to open up again, if you're not making music right now, you're doing it wrong. You should be doing something to produce music, mix music, master music, improve your skills, learn a new program, get a new plugin that you're getting great at. That's what we're doing in Sync Academy with the Sync 60 Challenge. Like, that's why I launched it this week. That's why we're going to be doing that, because I know a lot of you guys are going to need to stay productive right now. I think right now more than ever, the best thing you can actually do for your mental health and for everything, to not just sit around and worry and get maybe angry or upset or frustrated. Stay busy. I mean, staying busy, working on something you love is probably the best antidote to any sort of frustration or anxiety or depression that you'll ever have, is just being focused, zeroed in, and excited about creating something that you love. And so that's why we're doing that in Sync Academy. That's why any of you that are participating, that are watching, following along, I hope you're taking it seriously, and I hope that you do get something done. Even if it's not for the full 60 days, at least for a couple of weeks, I don't care what it is, but just make sure that you are not letting this opportunity go to the waste. As you can see from my list here, I see this as a big opportunity. Even though there are downsides, even though it's scary, it's uncertain, we already know all that. Okay, that's not news. But this is the kind of stuff that I look at. This is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about. And this is what keeps me moving forward right now. It keeps me looking for ways to be productive, to keep and try to encourage and motivate you guys, and hopefully get you guys out of any sort of a funk or a worried state of mind that you might be in. Because when you're in that state of mind, you just don't want to do anything. And I've even heard from some of my friends, once they don't have a job and once they're not working, they're kind of getting into this like, well, what's the point of even getting up and putting on clothes and taking a shower? And it's like, it's weird. I totally understand it, and I remember that feeling when I first went from the office world to working from home. It took a couple of months of adjustment. I was staying up way too late, sleeping in, not even showering, not even putting on anything other than my PJs for the whole day or whatever. So I know that it's a weird adjustment, especially since it's like a big shakeup for your your routine basically. But just give yourself a break. You will bounce back. You'll figure out how to deal with this kind of thing. But the best thing I can tell you guys, as far as if you're really like, you feel like a fish out of water being home, is try to create that schedule for yourself to wake up at a certain time. And if you need to have an alarm clock, have an alarm clock, but try to wake up. Don't just sleep in. Try to go to bed early, okay? Try to make 10 p.m. your max. I know that might be crazy impossible for some of you guys that think that it's crazy impossible. It's not. I used to be a guy that woke up or went to bed like at 12 or 1 every single day. I go to bed now at 8 or 9 at the latest. So I made the adjustment. You can make the adjustment too. You can just do it gradually if you'd like to. So going to bed early, waking up early, making sure that you're ready to go. And if you need to, do everything that you would have done if you were going to your office, right? Get up, take a shower, put on some work clothes. If that helps you feel, sometimes just putting on the uniform helps you feel more productive, like you're ready to work, then do that, right? Whatever you feel, you just got to find your own kind of hack. I can't tell you what to do, but definitely get into some sort of a schedule and a routine so that you feel like, okay, I can make the most of this. I can do something. So I hope you guys are doing that, and we're getting down to the deadline. If you wanted to win that S61 MIDI keyboard, you do need to join us in Sync Academy by this coming Monday. So you literally have just a couple of days to do that if you wanted to be eligible. You have to participate with Sync 60, got to mark yes on every single week's column, and if you're one of the final few that did all that, I will enter you in a raffle, and one of you guys are going to win that S61 MIDI keyboard, the complete control one. But either way, I want you guys to get some stuff done, look for the opportunity here, and stay productive. So let me know what you guys are working on during this slowdown at home. Please comment below with whatever either your Sync 60 goal is or just whatever you're going to be focusing on for the next couple of weeks to ensure that you stay productive.